I have finally got a little time to get back working on the half VW. So since my cylinders have came in, I need to get this bored out for the new 94 millimeter cylinders. And since I don't have a boring head to go on the mill so I can come down like this, I'm mounting the case half on the lathe. And then I can come in and cut that out, no problem, once I get it centered up. So I needed to mount this onto my turning plate. Now these, I've got it fit through one of the case half studs that pull the case together, and then one bolt here on the edge, and that's got it all nice and flat and tight. The case studs are 12 millimeter 1.50, which is kind of an odd size, or it's right in the middle of what our local hardware store has. So I had a couple of extra actual studs since we cut half the motor off. So I cut one of those in half, welded a nut on it, put that through there. So now we need to get this bolted into the lathe, and then I can center it up and start cutting. Take a look at this redneck mess. It's in there. I used my 3-jaw chuck that I took off to center in the hole. Used a live center there to get it exactly like I wanted it on the plate. We've got 2 clamps here holding it on. Then the 1 bolt going into the case main. Now, the only other problem I had with this is I'd mocked it up once before, and I knew it was going to be a little close on clearance to the bed. Well, it was a little closer than I thought. This corner here, down by the oil pump, was whacking the bed on this thing. So I ended up having to trim it back. This is one of your bolt holes for the case. That's the alignment pin hole. And I had to cut it back that far to get just a little clearance to go through there. It's not ideal, but all I've got to do is weld that back up, and I've done enough filler welding on this that that's no problem. Weld it back up in shape, because this will be a one-time deal. Get these to fit the case, then if I ever need new cylinders, they should, a 94 millimeter cylinder should fit in there. So get it done one time and be done. I figured welding this up would still be quicker, easier, and cheaper than sending the cases off to have them bored. And I'm just like doing it myself. But it does clear. So now we'll get the boring bar in there and see what kind of mess I can make. That, amazingly enough, is working just beautiful. I centered it up a little better, just got the tool bit in there and tapped around on it with a mallet till I got it just perfect. Then made one little shallow cleanup cut. Now we can go, it doesn't have to go full depth, because this skirt on there is not as deep as that hole is. I'll get some video of it actually going, but yeah, it's slick. That stuff machines just beautiful, just kind of crumbles. Making some nice shallow 10,000ths cuts till we finally get her out to the right diameter. Got the case bored out. Now, if you'll see on this cylinder, there is a little bit of a step there. It's about 10,000ths of a step. I'm not sure why that's there, but this wall is on a 55,000ths. So I had originally thought about cutting the step off, but I'm going to leave it in case it needed just the slightest bit of reinforcement around where that seats in the case. But I've got it bored out to the smaller diameter, so let's see if it fits. Should be about 5,000ths clearance, which is what I was shooting for. Oh, perfect. So now I just need to machine it out just a little more for that step. All right, I have cut the step in there. Let's see if this fillet Let's see if this cylinder fits. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and pull this off the lathe. Well, this one is all good to go. And if you have bored one of these before, you know at the very beginning I made a mistake that I had to correct. When I started boring it, I did not take the new bore diameter all the way to the bottom of the case. I just went deep enough for the cylinder. So I set the cylinder in there and I get the light right. I go to looking down in there and, well, that ridge was going to hit the piston. Because I took the measurements of the length of the piston from top to bottom and the stroke, and yes, the skirt goes down below the bottom of the cylinder. Just enough that I needed to go ahead and cut that down. But that was no problem. Just when you're cutting for the cylinder, go all the way to the bottom of the bore and you're good. The thing I was happy about is I was worried that I was going to break through into the thread inserts. And I've seen people run them where they were actually into the thread inserts with no problem. But there's actually a little bit of meat, even with these 94 millimeter cylinders. There's a little bit of meat, didn't get into the threads, so it's all good. Now all that's left is to do the same thing to the other one, then we'll weld up those corners that I had to trim back, and that part will be done. Right now I'm going to have to convert the lathe back over to a 3-jaw chuck because Junior's tired of his ski being slower, so we got to cut a few parts out on the lathe to go on it. So until next time, thanks for watching.